Most military members are not broke because they don't make enough money. They're broke because they're leaving benefits on the table, and some of those benefits are not small. I'm talking about thousands of dollars over the course of a career, thousands in housing decisions, thousands in tax advantages, thousands in education benefits, thousands in retirement value, thousands in medical coverage, thousands in VA benefits, thousands in programs people never use because nobody set them down and explained the system. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through the military benefits many people misunderstand, or underuse. And if you're serving now, already served, or about to join, married to someone serving, or helping your family make military decisions, this video may save you real money. Not hype, not theory, structure. Greetings and salutations. This is the Adjutant, and today we're talking about military benefits you may be missing that can add up to thousands of dollars, and I want to start with something very important. The military compensation system is not just your paycheck. Your paycheck is only part of the deal. Now, most people look at base pay and think that is what I make, but that is not the whole picture. Your real compensation includes your base pay, your housing allowance, food allowance, medical coverage, tax advantages, education, retirement benefits, leave, training, VA benefits, survivor benefits, and long-term career opportunities. Now, here is where people lose money. They only manage the paycheck. They do not manage the whole system. Now, let me say that again. Most people manage the paycheck, but the people who build wealth in the military learn how to manage the system. Now, benefit number one is BAH, or Basic Allowance for Housing. Now, BAH can be one of the most powerful benefits in the military, but a lot of people treat it casually. They get BAH and they find the most expensive place they can afford, and then their entire housing allowance disappears every month. But, folks, if you're strategic, BAH can help you create margin. And margin is where wealth begins. So if your BAH is $2,200 a month and you structure your housing at $1,700 a month, the difference is $500 per month. That is $6,000 per year. Over 4 years, that's $24,000. And that is before we even talk about investing it, paying down debt, or using it to stabilize your household. So now what I want to do is, I'm not saying live somewhere unsafe. You don't want to live in Chirac or in certain parts of the country where you have to dodge bullets in your living room. I'm not saying put your family in a bad situation. What I am saying is this, folks. BAH is not just money to spend. It is a tool to structure your life. Benefit number two is BAS, or Basic Allowance for Substance. Now, BAS is different and is not designed to feed your entire family. It is designed to help cover the service member's meal. But the problem is, many people do not track it at all. It just disappears into the check account and you're just gone. And when the money disappears into the checking account without a job, it usually gets spent. So one simple strategy is this. Keep this in mind. You want to assign BAS a mission. We're all in the military, so we know about missions. So you give your BAS a mission. Maybe BAS covers your groceries, or maybe it goes into a food budget, or maybe BAS offsets your meal prep. Maybe BAS becomes part of your saving structure if your food costs are already covered another way. But do not let it just vanish, folks. Small benefits become powerful when they are directed. Now, benefit number three is the tax advantages of allowances. Now, this is a big one, okay? BAH and BAS are generally not taxed as income. That means two people can have the same visible salary on paper, but the military member may have a stronger after-tax position because a portion of compensation comes through, and keep this in mind, as non-tax allowances. Now that matters. That affects your real spending power. That affects your ability to save. That affects your ability to qualify for things, in certain contexts. And it affects how you should think about your total compensation. Now, what you don't want to do is you don't want to compare your military base pay to civilian salary, no, without accounting for tax-free allowances. Now, that is how people make bad comparisons. Benefit number 4. Let's talk about benefit number 4, folks. Benefit number 4 is your medical coverage. That's a big one. This one is massive. Many civilian families are paying hundreds, sometimes over thousands of dollars per month for health insurance premiums, deductibles, co-payments, prescriptions, and out-of-pocket costs. Now, military medical coverage is not perfect. No system is perfect. All right? Remember that. But the value is real. And when you do your total compensation math, you must include what you are not paying, because money you do not have to spend is still financial value. Now, so if a civilian, for example, is paying $800 a month for healthcare costs, that is roughly $9,600 a year. And if your military coverage protects you from that level of expense, that is not imaginary. That is part of the benefit package. Let's talk about benefit number 4, and that is tuition assistance. That is something that I took a lot of value in when I was in the service. This is also one of the most misunderused benefits in the military. It's also one of the most misunderused benefits in the military, and that is something that you should keep in mind. Now, what do I mean by that? People say they want to go to school. They say they want a better future. They say they want credentials, but then they leave tuition assistance untouched. That is money sitting on the table. So if you're eligible for tuition assistance, folks, you need to use it strategically, not just random classes. Build something like a degree. I remember when I was on active duty stationed at, where was I? It was in Camp Humphreys, Korea. I remember a civilian contractor professor was telling me, don't just take a bunch of classes, soldier, take classes that's going to get you a degree in something. And I found that very valuable. You want to get a degree, a certification, a credential, a promotion path, a post-military career. The military can help pay for education while you're still serving. And if you're tuition assistant, if you use it wisely, you may be able to preserve your GI Bill for later. And that is how you stack benefits on top of each other. Benefit number 6 leads into, the GI Bill. The GI Bill is not just a school benefit. It is a wealth building benefit. Used correctly, it can pay for tuition, provide for housing allowance, support career transition, and reduce or eliminate the need for student loans altogether. But here is where most people make mistakes. They use it casually. They pick a school without thinking about the return on investment. They burn months of entitlement without a plan. They do not understand transfer rules. They wait too long to think about dependents. They do not compare programs. Like the GI Bill should be treated like any major asset, because that is exactly what it is. Now, benefit number 7 is credentialing assistance. This is really important. This is another one people miss. Depending on branch rules and availability, credentialing assistance can help pay for licenses, certifications, and professional credentials. Now that matters because degrees are not the only thing that create career value. Sometimes a certification can open up the door faster. Project management, you got cybersecurity, human resources, logistics, commercial driving, IT, healthcare support, trade credentials, professional licenses. The point is, folks, do not leave the military with only memories. Okay, you don't want to do that. I got a lot of memories, but believe me, for those who know, I also got a lot of benefits. Benefit number 8 is the TSP. The Thrift Savings Plan is one of the most important wealth building tools available to military members. And under the blended retirement system, better known as the BRS, all these acronyms you get in the military, there's another one. Matching contributions can become very important. But a lot of people either do not contribute enough, leave money on the table, or they put money into the wrong account by default and never increase contributions as they get promoted. That is how thousands disappear, not all at once, it does quietly, month after month, year after year. So if you get matching and you do not contribute enough to capture it, that is free money being left behind. And I don't like free money being left behind. No. Now, let's talk about benefit number 9, and that is continuing pay under the BRS. This is one of the huge for people under the blended retirement system. Continuation pay is a mid-career incentive that many people do not fully understand until it's time to make the decision. And when the decision comes, they may already be rushed. You need to know when you become eligible, folks. You need to know what obligations come with it. You need to know how much it may be. You also need to know whether it makes sense in your career plan. Also, you need to know what you're going to do with the money before it hits your account, because a lump sum without a mission, remember, give everybody a mission, even your money, usually becomes just a memory. Benefit number 10, talk about that one, military leave. 30 days of paid leave per year is a serious benefit. I don't even get that as a federal employee. After I retired, I went to go work for the federal government. We don't get that. Well, you can build up to it, but you automatically get that as a military. Many civilian workers do not get anything close to that. But service members often waste leave because they don't plan it strategically. Leave can help you reset. It can protect your family. It can support transition. It can help you with job interviews. It can help you with house hunting. It can also help you with education. It can help you with relocation. And terminal leave can be especially valuable when transitioning out of the military. Do not treat leave like an afterthought. Paid time has value. Let's talk about benefit number 11 is space A travel. Now, space A is not always convenient. It's not always predictable. Trust me. I could go off on a tangent on that, but I'll do a standalone video for that. And it's definitely not for every trip. Anyway, but if you understand it and use it wisely, it can create real travel savings, especially for flexible travelers, retirees, yay me, eligible family members, and certain categories of service members can sometimes access travel opportunities that civilians simply do not have. Now, again, folks, this is not always easy. And again, I am going to do a standalone video, but the benefits you ignore are often the benefits someone else is using. Now, benefit number 12. All right. This is commissary and exchange system. Some people dismiss this, they dismiss it outright. I don't know why they do that. They say, oh, it's only a few dollars. But a few dollars repeated over and over becomes real money. Groceries, household goods, clothing, appliances, electronics, gas in some locations, though I've often found, Costco's and other places like that can beat them on certain prices. But is every item cheaper? No, it's not. You still need to compare, folks. All right. But if you're strategic, the commissary and exchange system can reduce household costs and creates margin. All right. Margin is important. Let's talk about benefit number 13 is legal assistant. Now, I used to practice law. For those of y'all who don't know, I was a criminal defense attorney. I practiced for over a decade. I handled everything from traffic tickets to double murder cases and everything in between in state and federal court. Now, military legal assistance can help with wills, power of attorney, certain family law guidance, landlord-tenant issues, consumer matters, and other legal concerns depending on availability and scope. Now, again, as a former attorney, let me tell you something plainly. Legal help is expensive. If you can get appropriate legal assistance through military channels, do not ignore it. A simple power of attorney done correctly, it's key, done correctly, can prevent stress. A will can protect your family. A legal consultation can help you avoid mistakes before it becomes expensive. And another thing, you need to make sure you act on that legal advice. I have situations where I advise people certain things. They didn't take said advice. The situation arose and they came back in wishing they took said advice. All right. Benefit number 14 is financial counseling. Now, many installations have access to financial readiness resources, and a lot of people avoid them because they're embarrassed. And do not be embarrassed, folks, about need for financial assistance. I have needed financial assistance sometime over the years. I have been on unemployment and various forms of state. I actually was homeless for a time, and I talked about that in my Adjutant Storytime series. You need to check that playlist out where I talk about growing up. All right. The system is there for a reason. Again, don't be embarrassed. If you're in debt, get help. If you're confused about budgeting, get help. Because here's what happens. If you don't get help, those problems compound over and over, and then it's going to be even harder. So if you're preparing for PCS, get help. If you're about to get married, definitely get help. I got another standalone video that we're going to talk about at another time. If you're separating or retiring, get help. Pride, folks, is expensive. What's that say? Pride goes before the fall, or something along those lines. Structure is cheaper. Now let's talk about benefit number 15 is VA disability compensation. Now, for those of y'all who don't know, I actually was a rater. I actually rated claims for the Department of Veterans Affairs where I used the military records from what the veteran submitted, along with their medical records, and based on the law, I made determinations based if they were service connected for 0%, 10%, 20%, 100%, no percent. So that is a great benefit. This must be handled carefully and honestly. VA disability compensation is not a hustle. So don't think it's a hustle. It's not a game. It is compensation for service-connected benefits, conditions. But many veterans miss benefits because they do not understand documentation. Documentation, documentation, documentation. Tap, tap, claim, or, listen, listen, listen. Attention, attention, attention. Attention. If you are in the military, sound like these lawyer commercials. If you've been injured, if you've been in the military and you've been injured, make sure it is documented. Thank me later. If it's not, you're going to wish you did. You're going to be like these clients where I gave advice to and said condition happened. They didn't take said advice and they wish they had. So document, document, document. Take glasses off for this one. Document, document, document. Am I making it clear? While you're in the military. All right. And if someone says, oh, you should be ashamed going to the doctor while you're in the military, be ashamed. They're not going to be taking care of you in your 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and so on and so forth and everything else. All right. They, some people, they do not go to medical while serving. They try to tough things out. They fail to report symptoms. They separate without copies of their records. Whoa, don't do that. They do not understand service connection. They don't understand secondary conditions. They don't understand how claims are evaluated. And then years later, they are trying to reconstruct what should have been documented while they were still in uniform. So if you're serving now, again, document your medical issues honestly. Honestly, folks, honestly, document it, but do it honestly. Do not exaggerate, but also don't minimize. Hey, look, if you're depressed, don't say, oh, it's okay. No, it is what it is, but don't exaggerate. Tell the truth and let the record reflect reality. Benefit number 16 is VA healthcare, kind of ties into the VA benefits. Some veterans qualify for VA healthcare and never use it. Why? I have no idea. Including, elder. And now, by the way, that reminds me. See, it's a good thing that you take notes because there's a lot of information sharing with y'all for free. Some good information right here. Some great intel. Now, some veterans qualify for VA healthcare and never use it. Now, VA healthcare eligibility can depend on several factors, including service history, disability rating, income, priority group, and other conditions. But the point is, folks, do not assume you are not eligible. Why? It's kind of like there was this young lady that I wanted to talk to in college, and I just thought that she was way out of my league. But hey, you got to shoot your shot. What's the worst that can happen? So don't assume you're not eligible. All right. Healthcare is one of the largest expenses in American life. If you have earned access to VA healthcare, understand what is available. Now, benefit number 17 is a VA home loan. The VA home loan is one of the strongest benefits available to eligible veterans and service members. No down payment. In many cases, you got competitive rates, no monthly private mortgage insurance, which can save you hundreds of dollars a month, flexible qualification standards compared to some conventional loans. But here's the warning. A VA loan is a tool. It is absolutely not a permission to overbuy. Some people use VA loans wisely and build stability. Other people use it to buy too much house and become house poor. For those of y'all who know what house poor is, go ahead and leave a comment and explain it to your fellow veterans what being house poor is all about. This benefit is powerful, but the strategy matters. Okay? Let's talk about benefit number 18, SGLI and VGLI. Life insurance is not exciting, unless you're State Farm or Progressive or these other folks that, have these little funny commercials. SGLI can provide significant life insurance coverage while serving. After service, VGLI may be available, though you should compare it against other options depending on your health, age, family needs. The point is not that one option is always the best. The point is that your family protection plan should not be accidental. If people depend on your income, folks, you need a plan. Now, benefit number 19 is your survivor benefits. This includes things like survivor benefit plan for retirees and other related protections. Now, a lot of people do not want to think about this, but leadership includes protecting people after you're gone. Before making decisions about survivor benefits, understand the costs, the protections, the trade-offs, and the long-term impact on the spouse and family. Do not make the decision emotionally at the last minute. Now, benefit number 20 is transition assistance. The military offers transition resources, but some people treat them like box-checking exercises. This is a mistake. Transition is where many people lose momentum. They leave with rank, experience, stories, stress, but they do not leave with a plan. Now, you need to use transition resources early. Resume help, things like interview help, skill translation, benefit briefings, VA claim preparations, education planning, employment support, networking. Don't wait until the last month. By then the clock is already loud and. Now let me bring all of this together. The reason these benefits matter is not because every single benefit will apply to every single person, because they won't. They will not. The reason they matter is because most people are not missing just one benefit. They're missing layers. They are overpaying for housing, not using tuition assistance, ignoring credentialing, underfunding their TSP, mismatching, all this, not putting as much as you should in, failing to document medical issues, misusing the GI Bill, forgetting that legal assistance is available, not understanding VA benefits, not planning the transition, not comparing total compensation, and each one may look small by itself, but together, that can be thousands, sometimes tens of thousands, sometimes it's life-changing. So, particularly if you could have gotten, service-connected disability up to 100% and you just didn't document anything, that would have been life-changing to be rated at 100%. So here is the action step, folks. Do a benefit audit. This is what I want you to do. It's action. I told you all the issues. Now I'm telling you what to do now. Like when I was a lawyer, I tell people what to do. I'm telling you what to do. All right, do an audit. Write down every military benefit available to you. Then ask 5 questions. Cinco, for all these people who speak Spanish, and for Janelle who doesn't. If you know, you know. That's an inside joke just for me and someone I know who's Janelle, who's Mexican and speaks no Spanish. And I speak Spanish. It's an inside joke. You got it. If you know, you know. It'd be hilarious if you knew the backstory with that. But there are 5 questions, 5 questions. Number 1, am I eligible? Number 2, am I using it? All right. Number 3, am I using it correctly? Number 4, is there a deadline? Number 5, does this benefit connect to my long-term plan? Now, this simple audit can change your financial life because benefits only help you when you understand them, claim them, and use them with structure. The military gives you access to tools, but it does not automatically build your future for you. All right? And if you're young in your career, this is the time to pay attention. If you are mid-career, this is the time, folks, to tighten up. And if you're close to retirement or separation, this is the time to stop guessing, And if you're already a veteran, this is the time to review what you may still be eligible for. So even though you're out, you still may be eligible for benefits. And, even though you didn't document properly, you should still file your claim for benefits, for VA benefits, all right? Hint, hint, clue, clue. Do not leave earned benefits behind. Do not let confusion cost you money. Do not let pride keep you from asking questions. And I have a whole story about someone who I worked with at the Department of Veterans Affairs who was a Marine Corps veteran, and he was so prideful that he didn't want to apply for benefits, and he was had injuries from Vietnam. And 30 years later, he finally applied, and he applied 30 years when he should have. He would have probably been rated 100% all that time, all right? So do not let the system pass you by simply because nobody explained it clearly. You served, you earned access, now learn the structure. Use the benefits, protect your family, and build something that lasts. And so there you have it. I hope this has been helpful. This is the Adjutant, and I'll see you in the next one. I wish you all blessings and blessings. Shalom.